was weird. All right. Hey, how you guys doing? That took a few seconds to work through that. Sorry about that. Turned our camera a different way, so we are having to technical difficulties, so bear with us. Waiting for everyone to get on. I hope you are popping in on there. He is sharing the watch party, so he is sharing it on his page. So hopefully everyone gets on and sees. All right. Hey, how you doing? Yep, we're on. So everyone, I'd like you to meet my husband, Grayson's father. This is Scott Cooper.
Hello there.
This is a lifeline of mine who has been a great source of help for me and everyone out there. We had a conversation after my last live about getting on here, and I asked him if he would ever want to do a live with me, and he's like, I don't know about that. So, because he's not great at public speaking. That's okay. Not everyone is their forte. But he did want to get on here and actually talk about from a man's perspective, from a father's perspective, because a lot of you know about, us women. These are our children, and when they have something like this, it affects the women greatly. But a lot of people do not talk about how it is from a man's point of view. And in our society, it is still a stigma for men not talking about their feelings, about showing their emotions, about crying, about being vulnerable and everything. So we had a really awesome conversation, and he really wanted to get on here and talk about his point of view. He's made some notes that he's really gone over. I have read them. They're really on point, and I will interject a couple of times, but I want him to, talk about his feelings and talk about how it is. So with that, I know that you're going to go in and talk about it. I know it may not go in a certain order, but tell me in your words, why did you want to do this?
I just think it's important that everybody, not only the fathers, but the mothers and everybody, know the feelings from the father's perspective. Because we've had a lot of people that would ask Dominique how she's doing, and not that they would forget about me or, Josh, but I mean, it's just something that I wanted to put out there that, it's okay for the fathers to actually show the emotion,
to mourn,
to grieve, and it's real. It's everybody looks at the fathers as the stronghold of the family, but when something like this happens, that's not the case. By any means, it's not. We
all mourn together in this, and we are a family. So with that, I will let him go through his notes and start talking and how he feels, how he's kind of put it into his way of digesting this and getting it to you guys. We've been trying to share our grief and be very, very vocal with this, because a lot of you are reaching out and saying that you are so thankful for us reaching out and talking about our raw emotions, because a lot of people don't talk about this. And this is why it's so important to me to bring my husband on, because a lot of people don't talk about the men's side of it. So how do you want to, I know you've got your notes, so I see you have guilt written down. So why don't we just start there?
I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I've dealt with throughout this whole thing with Grayson is the guilt as a father. I wasn't an easy father, which a lot of times the father is the disciplinary, and in this case we both were, but, Dominique actually, she was more of the level-headed where, I was more of the in-your-face sort of thing, and I still carry the guilt from that. The biggest thing is the night before this happened with Grayson, that the last time I spoke to him, it was an argument. So I mean, if anything, I wish I could go back and change that. It that still kills me to this day. I did not see him the morning before he left, where she did, so I didn't really get to say much to him. So that's something I've been carrying around, and once again, being a tough father, I wish I could go back and change things, but, and every dad's going to be the same way. You're doing the best you can, with what you're given.
Say I love you more.
Yeah, exactly. And you go off how you were raised, and you either follow that or, go to a different route. But I mean, it's just, you want the best for your children, and you try to mold their future to where, they will have a wonderful future. And sometimes it's tough love, unfortunately, but like I said, the guilt is still there, and everybody's been telling me I can't take that. It's something I'll always have. I mean, having the love for your children, I mean, it's so deep, it's so deep that it hurts, and now it goes even deeper. It just, you want to go back and change so much. And I mean, and that rolls right into, showing emotions as a father, and
that it's okay to show your emotions
exactly.
as a father.
And I mean, I've always been, I guess I have quite the feminine side. I'll cry at Christmas commercials, but I mean, it's okay to cry around each other. It's okay to cry around your children, and family, friends. I've done more in the last almost 7 weeks than I have, I think, my entire life.
We've taught our boys that real men cry, real men wear pink.
Exactly.
So it's something.
And purple.
Yes, and purple. we wore our shirts, live for grace,
Exactly.
and so that's what we have. Beautiful people who are helping us. So it's okay, as a young boy, as a father, as an old man. No matter how you were raised, you need to be able to communicate and show emotion.
And when something like this happens, you go through so many emotions. It's okay to scream at the top of your lungs, whether,
We've done it.
Just alone in the house, walk outside and do it. People may think you're nuts, but they don't have a clue as to what
What's
you're going through, and the other thing is you go through so many different stages, and I mean, we've been in and we're in now sort of an anger stage where, why did he do it? And we yell at him, and
We're angry with him for leaving us.
exactly. But you can't keep that hidden, because if you do, it will build up and it'll just eat you alive. And we went back and forth with doing that to each other, where one would be in a good mood and the other would not, and if I was not in a good mood, I didn't want to bring her down, and she would do the same to me. But that wears on you. It really does.
And as a couple, I think the rate was 75% after a death of a child, the 75% of a marriage breaking up, and that's something that we don't want to happen. We're trying to be strong. We're having to learn to communicate in a different way that we're not accustomed to. So it's learning how to do this all over again.
Exactly. And it's okay to be vulnerable. I've never been more vulnerable in my life, to anything, to people coming up to me, to, something you see, something you hear, and it's just, you're so susceptible to things happening around you that you react so much differently than
Yes.
you used to.
Yes.
It's a totally different ball game now, and just like Dominique had said in other live posts, we're trying to find our new normal.
Mm-hmm.
We still haven't found it. We're getting there, but
We're learning to live again.
exactly. We're learning to smile and laugh at things and have memories, but there's still times when that doesn't happen.
It's hard.
Another huge thing, and not just for fathers but for everybody, is communication, and that is the key. Just like we were saying, you don't want to bring the other down, but you have to communicate with each other.
Yes.
You have to talk, whether it's to each other, to family, to friends. I've told perfect strangers, that they may have recognized us from our Live 5, cast. And it's okay. And we want people, some people will just kind of sit there and stare at us and wonder, where do I know you from? And it's okay to come up and talk to us. It really is. And it's another thing. It's okay to show the grief, and talk about it with others. This is something no parent should ever have to go through, and the grief is like nothing you can ever imagine. It's
always
unreal.
going to be there. It's always going to be there. So it's not like picking a wound or, not wanting to say anything because you fear that we're going to break down in tears. It's always going to be there. So we rather talk about it than not talk about it.
It helps to talk.
Very much.
It really does. The more you sit around silent, sometimes the worse it gets.
Yes.
It's better to talk.
Yes.
And as a couple, we have to have that open line of communication. If we don't, that's when that 75% comes in, and that's mostly what happens, is that they don't communicate.
And these are raw emotions. These aren't just, talking to each other about our feelings. These are deep down inside of, screaming at each other. Why, getting through all this. It's a very ugly side of it that you have to learn how to deal with and go through again. It's the harshness of it as a couple. It's something that you never thought you would face. So it brings sometimes animosity, and your brain just thinks things, and you start accusing each other, and it's not really there. So communication is key. And I have to say, I was bad at one point and broke down and started putting up a wall, and he fought that. We both fought that. So it's something that we are learning as a couple, is the communication.
In 23 years, I haven't had to deal with that wall with her, and it was difficult. And, that goes in, there's times when we'll break down or have problems at different times or at the same time. Most of the time it's different times, and that's helpful just because the other one can console each other. It's just, it's never going to go away. Mm-hmm. And it's never going to get easier, but we'll learn how to cope with it better. And I know she said the same thing. It's just something that's going to be with us for the rest of our lives.
Definitely. And
we'll have constant reminders each and every day, every moment of the day, just pop up. And another thing, that it comes, the macho attitude of, a lot of men is that I don't need to get help. Mm-hmm. It's okay to get help.
That's a huge thing. Huge.
And if you're not getting what you need from talking to your family and friends and coworkers and whoever, you need to definitely seek out counseling.
There are plenty of professional people out there. I know of quite a few of them. There's many people that are on here tonight that know a lot of them. Please, we need to break that stigma. Hence the reason why we're having these tonight. We need to break that stigma.
Absolutely. Because, you're dealing with more pain and grief of your everyday life that you've never dealt with before. And,
it's a physical thing.
I'm living proof. It'll affect you physically, mentally. It's unreal. And it doesn't make you less of a person to seek out counseling.
It makes you a better person.
Exactly. And anyone that says, oh, you don't need that, then they've never, ever been through anything even remotely close to what you're going through. The pain that I feel, and that I know Dominique feels, it's not always visible, and most of the time it's not. It's internal. Mm-hmm. It's something that you have to fight. And, most of the time it's a losing battle. But I mean, you have to address it. You can't just hide it away and, not talk about it. I mean, it comes in huge waves. One moment you could be fine. Next moment,
you're breaking down in tears.
There's no reminders at all.
Nope.
And I'll be sitting in my office at work, and that's exactly what happens. I'll have to close my office door and just, give me a few minutes and let me work through
Exactly.
it. And I know she said it before, it's not day by day. It may get to that in time, but right now it's still moment by moment. Because it can change that fast. Even second by second. It's at times it just seems unbearable and overwhelming.
It's affected our work.
Oh, absolutely. There's things that people have asked me questions about in the last couple weeks. I've been in this business almost 30 years, and I could rattle them off the top of my head, and I couldn't answer them. I would have to get back to them, and I would have to actually look it up, concentrate, and so it affects every single aspect.
You are literally in a fog for
Yes.
a while. It's slowly starting to clear up, but you are literally in a fog that I can honestly say tomorrow will be 7 weeks, and I can honestly say this is the first week that I've been able to mentally function on a coherent level.
Yes.
That's how I feel.
And
I know it's affect you and health-wise too.
Oh, absolutely. And you're unable to function with just normal tasks. Balancing your checkbook. Just simple things have become difficult to where you second guess yourself. Am I doing the right thing? And that's
why am I doing it? Why
Exactly.
am I going on?
And that's when you have to step back, and really talk to people. And there's help. And I've had so many people at work that have reached out.
It's okay.
And
a lot of people have reached out and have done really good, especially to him. I have to say, it is difficult, and for him being a guy, you don't expect a man to break down in tears, but he's had more grown men cry with him than anything. So it's definitely something that we are trying to bring awareness. We're trying to break that stigma, and especially when it comes from a man's perspective, it is difficult for a father who was that tough father, that tough love, but also deep down and loved seeing his children succeed in everything. But you have to discipline your children. It's simple as that. You have to discipline your children, because they need to know consequences for their actions. And as a parent, you can't feel guilty about that, but then again, you look back and it's like, what could I have done better?
Exactly.
And it affects so many things. And he wrote down some health things, because I can honestly tell you, for me, it's a physical pain at times where I literally, my chest hurts. I feel like an elephant is sitting on it. It's so hard to breathe, and I can feel it coming, and it's just, people try to reach out, and I'm like, no, don't touch me, because I'm trying to gain control. And
Exactly.
I don't know I know what you affect, but how does it affect you?
Health-wise, and many of you may know, you may not, I've been diabetic now for about 10 years, just type 2. But of course, and all the other cholesterol and all that great crap, but, your eating habits just plunge when something like this happens. You don't want to eat. I can't tell you how many weeks I went without eating breakfast, probably lunch as well.
Sometimes dinner.
I'm on medication, and it just really affects everything. Your eating habits change. You have to learn how to eat all over again. You know, something that you've worked so hard for, especially as a diabetic, to keep your sugar levels where they need to be. Thankfully, mine have been good because of the medication, but the eating has not been. I mean, you'll get dehydrated because you will literally forget to drink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just something that's not a top priority at the moment. You know, and along with that, I mean, you start having mood swings. You will.
That's a biggie. That is a biggie.
I mean, it's huge. You know, one minute you'll be happy, and all of a sudden it changes that fast. And it's, you know, people say maybe you're bipolar. No,
it's grief.
It's grief.
That's
and
exactly it.
It's just as much for a guy as it is a woman.
Mm-hmm.
It will break you, literally. Any sort of machiness you have will be gone. It will break you. You know, you'll have headaches for days on end.
Yes.
And you don't even bother taking anything because you kind of figure that's a new way of life. You know, you just deal with it. Yeah, there's so many different health issues. I mean, we have been sleeping. You can sleep all night long
And still
and
feel
wake
exhausted.
up and you feel like you haven't slept a wink.
Mm-hmm.
You're just physically and mentally exhausted. I mean, I feel like I've aged 20 years in the past 7 weeks. And I know people close to us, you know, I mean, they've said the same thing, you know, just being around us. I mean, it's noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can see the drainage. I mean, on a daily basis, you don't want to get out of bed.
That's a
You
fight.
know,
That's a fight
every
every
day.
day. That is a fight.
You have to force yourself. I mean, we did not. The Monday right after it happened, I had Dominique drive me to work. I wanted to actually work that week, but there was so much to do that we couldn't. I mean, we just couldn't. But the following week, all of us went back to work. So people still ask us if we have gone back to work yet, and you have to get back to some sort of routine. So I mean, that's been our saving grace to
and
help
counselors
us.
will tell you that too, that you have to get back to a routine as quickly as possible. Not that it gets you past it faster, it helps to get back into the mode so you can deal with it, so you can learn to live again, so you can learn to get into that new way of living.
Exactly. I mean, and you know, going with not wanting to get out of bed. I mean, you want to sleep constantly just to deaden the pain somewhat. You know, if you're not having nightmares, if you're just sleeping, then you know you're not awake and having to deal with it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a bad place to be in. Your stress levels. I mean, I know probably I don't check my blood pressure much at home. I'm sure they were outrageous, even though I'm on medication. I mean, that's like an all-time high, you know, and that stress is totally different than anything you've ever experienced in your entire life. There's nothing like losing a child, and I know people have lost children, you know, at birth, and that
It still hurts.
it's horrible. But to have one for almost 17 years and then to lose them, you know, it's even people that the exact same thing has happened to, they know how we feel, but every single instance is different.
Everyone grieves differently.
Exactly.
How you feel, I mean, we all feel grief, we all feel pain, we all go through these things, but your grief is completely different than mine is completely different from his.
Yep.
And we're all in this together, and we're all trying to share, you know, this, because people need to see it. People
Exactly.
need to understand this, and you know, it causes so many things, and unfortunately it can cause a panic attack.
It can. And I mean, your mental health suffers as well. I mean, you have thoughts of all different types that will consume you. And I mean, that darkness is so overwhelming at times. You know,
Suffocating.
it's suffocating. You know, and you just feel like there's no more light left in the world. Of course, this rain doesn't help much either.
No, it doesn't.
Not seeing sunshine for days on end does not help us at all. It just seems like everything starts collapsing around you. And it's everything you can do just to continue
Function.
on. And just like Dominique said, the anxiety and panic attacks, I've never had one in my life until a couple weeks ago. And I have to say that was the scariest thing I ever went through. Because I rushed home because she was having problems. I took care of her. And then I couldn't move. I've never dealt with anything like that in my life. I couldn't hardly breathe. She had to carry me to bed. I know very well that she checked my pulse a couple times, my breathing, and she told me just close my eyes and go to sleep, and I couldn't, because in my eyes I felt if I closed my eyes they would never open again. And it's, but at the same time I didn't want to close my eyes. I almost did, to take the pain away. It's...
And that's something you have to work through as a couple. The communication, you have to be able to talk about that and how you really feel. And in that moment, when he found me, I was in the dark place. And I wanted to be consumed by the darkness. I wanted to be gone. And with him coming home and finding me like that, I didn't want that. I didn't want him to find me in that state. And then him helping me, I'm forever grateful for that. And then him being so scared, and it just everything. And watching him go through a panic attack that he's never had one, I could see him being scared. So we had to talk about hard things, and that was difficult. But we got through it.
And I felt so bad afterwards because I rushed home to take care of her, and she ends up taking care of me. So
it's what we do.
That's something, us as men don't need to be ashamed of. It's going to happen.
Yes.
You're going to experience things, like I said, that you've never experienced before. And it's really crazy to think of some of the things that we've had to deal with in the last 7 weeks. And yet we're still here. We still talk to kids from Grayson School all the time, and we want them to talk to us. Mm-hmm. That's, our family has grown by leaps and bounds, and we're fine with that. We welcome it, and we still want to help everyone, not just the kids, adults. It doesn't matter. It's really crazy. And these are a few points. I know that she went over, the last couple lives that she's had, but with other people, unless they've been through the same thing, and I know I mentioned this already, they don't know how you feel. And, there are things that people say, they don't know what to say, so sometimes things come out wrong. People have to know it's okay not to say anything. Just, simple, how are you doing, or something like that is fine. We're not...
Or just be present in the moment.
And like she said in her last one, we're not fragile pieces of glass that are going to break. We don't mind people talking to us. But also, like she said just a few minutes ago, there's times when, don't hug. It may not be the best idea, just depending on the moment. It's,
And don't be offended if we say don't hug.
Right, exactly.
Because we are fragile at that moment and trying to hold ourselves together.
But once again, every instance is different. Mm-hmm. Even the parents that have been through the same exact thing with their child, maybe it was a different method or whatever, but every family, every person, every child is different. Every situation is going to be different. And it's one of the biggest reasons that I agreed to do this, and I hate public speaking. I suck at it.
He's doing very well, isn't he?
And I don't like it at all. But we've noticed, that many people do ask the mother how they're doing. And I've been with her a couple times to the point where, they'll come up and talk to her because they recognize her, either from the news or from her lives or whatever. But I mean, sometimes they won't say anything to me. Other times they will. But just know that the father's grieving is right along with the mother's.
Yes.
And the siblings are as well. I mean, if not even more. That's someone, that was Josh's best friend. So.
And we don't talk a lot about him just because of the fact that he is a private person, just like Grayson was.
Yes.
So we've always protected our children on social media, and that's the way it's always been. So it's always know that we are always in constant communication with him, and we're always checking on him. And the ones that you are always checking on him, we appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
So we appreciate that.
Continue doing it. We all need it, and we don't mind, the simple text or messages, love you, thinking of you. I mean, that sometimes makes our day. It really does.
Exactly.
But just know that even though the men, the fathers, the brothers, all of the guys are always considered the stronger people in the family. When something like this happens, that goes out the window. It's gone. I'm not strong.
Get your ego out the window.
I am
Get
not.
The man macho stuff.
I mean, everybody's been telling
hurts.
us that we're strong. I know I speak for myself. I feel like the weakest person in the world. I mean, you feel helpless. You really do. But the support that we get is what keeps us going, and helping others keeps us going. And as far as the other people, so many of them have offered to help with whatever, what can we do? Unfortunately, there's really nothing except just your thoughts and prayers. Just keep those coming. If there's anything that we really do need, believe me, we will
reach out.
We'll reach out. Don't get me wrong. Please keep offering. That's fine. We're fine with that.
But don't be offended if we say, well, no, there's really nothing that you can do. Because as of right now, there isn't. Your kind words coming from a good place, just checking in on us. That's what you can do. And don't stop that, because we are tomorrow 7 weeks in, and most people, this is the point where I'm getting to now, that most people say, okay, well, it's time for you to start healing. It's time for you to stop mourning. It's time for you to get over grieving. That's never going to change.
No.
That's never going to stop. We're never, ever going to get through this grief. We're never, ever going to stop mourning. We are never going to get better. We're never going to heal. This is a new way of our life. So 7 weeks, 7 years, and I'm going to mourn my child's life until I die.
Exactly.
And that's the way it's going to be.
Exactly. And this, I will probably not look at the camera because I want to read this exactly the way I wrote it. But last but not least, please, and I'm reiterating what Dominique has said, please don't ever tell a parent that has lost a child that it will get easier. And I know I said this earlier. Pardon my French, but that's 100% bullshit. It never gets easier. You will learn different ways of how to cope with things, but it will never get easier. There are reminders everywhere, at every moment, that will bring a whole new wave of emotions and thoughts back across your mind and tear another small piece of your heart out each time. I'm surprised I have any left after these past almost 7 weeks, but with all of the support and everyone's help, we're still here. We're still trying to help others fight the good fight. You matter. You matter to your family, your friends, and most of all, you matter to us. We open our hearts and our home to you all, young and old, children and adults. Our door is open. Our phones are on. Text us, message us, call us, stop by and see us. Just talk to us. If you can't talk to your parents or your friends, talk to us. If you can't talk at the moment, write your thoughts and emotions down. Give that paper to someone, anyone, or just hold on to them. Because it does help just to get them out of your head and off your chest and on paper. It will help heal your heart, little by little. You're here for a reason, and that reason is bigger than anything that means otherwise. You have a purpose to fulfill. You have a purpose to fulfill your life and to be the best you possibly can be. We're here for you all. We were yesterday, we are today, we will be tomorrow and forever. We are all one big family now, and we love you all. And before I read that, is there anything else you...
No, that was good. No, we definitely wanted, especially the men, to be on here because this is something that was extremely important to both of us, and especially Scott. And men need to understand that they grieve just as well as the mom, as the siblings, the brothers. It's please don't think that you're overly macho to show emotion because you're missing out on a lot of opportunity of people helping you because you have to be real. You have to communicate and you have to be honest and raw because it's an epidemic and it's not going away. We just had a friend of ours down the street who was very upset when he heard about Grayson went to work and one of his co-workers,
customer's son, took his own life. It is hard for these children in this world. We have to be there for them. We are being their advocates right now. And so we're fine with that. Keep it coming. We're here.
So we need to teach our young boys that talking about emotions is okay. We need to reiterate that immensely. So that's the reason why we did this tonight. And I'm going to keep doing more. And there's going to be other things that we'll start talking about. So it's
and I may even come back. Maybe not if people don't want me. I do have one other short paragraph I want to read. And it's just a thank you all. And thank you to my beautiful and awesome wife for allowing me this opportunity to address you from my point of view. I know some of these things are reiterations of what she has said in her other lives, but they are things that come from my heart as well. There is nothing more important in this world that we want to do other than prevent other parents from ever having to go through this sort of agony and pain. We miss our son so much. It is sometimes unbearable. But Grayson knows he is loved by so many people. He follows us everywhere we go, and he will be watching over us always and forever. Remember, hold yourself accountable. And if you can't live for Grayson or anyone else, if you can't live for yourself or anyone else, live for Grayson. With the hashtag Live for Grayson.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And we'll definitely... There's a lot of comments on tonight, and I want to address all those. So I appreciate all of you, and just share this with the men in your lives. Share this with anyone. Actually, this is something that we are definitely going, I guess that we could say, viral about, because we want to be raw in this, and had a lot of people approach us about speaking, and I am going to start speaking at a couple of new events that are coming up. So anybody who wants us to come speak, to come talk, we are willing. I'm willing. I don't know if he'll do it in front of people.
Probably not.
But we're getting the story out there, and it needs to be heard. Not just the children, but grown men. I have the pleasure of speaking at an event coming up. It hasn't been quite announced yet, but I will be speaking hopefully to a bunch of firemen and police officers. And, they're the ones who get in this job that everybody thinks, oh, well, you know what you're getting into. And they die more by suicide than they do in the line of duty. And that just, it hurts my heart immensely about that. So suicide has become quite the topic for me. It's a subject that's near and dear to my heart because it's personal, and all you guys know that. So this is something that we're getting out there. We appreciate each and every one of you being on tonight. We'll address those comments, I promise you. Thank you so much for being here. And if you guys need anything, reach out to us. Please reach out.
Definitely.
All the love. We appreciate you guys. Have a good evening. Hug your family, because you never know when it's going to be the last time.
Yes.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.